Welcome back, everyone, to another one-on-one with Jerry Hall. Today's guest is XRP community member, XRP The Stanard Productions. You know him from his incredibly witty tweets, his remarkably well-produced videos on YouTube, as well as an enormous collection of content in the form of, well, funny articles on Coil. We're going to discuss the early days getting into crypto, what it meant for him personally. We're also going to dive into exactly what did it take to create those videos. It was like, I thought they were like Hollywood quality. They were very well produced. And of course, the transition into his Coil blog. Now, this is slightly different, folks. This is not your normal, you're going to see both of me and my guests exchanging on screen. I'm going to be rolling an XRP The Stanard Productions montage that I made, which you will see on the screen as you hear our voices converse over that. Please let me know what you think of that format. I do have other guests that want to be on the show, but they want to remain anonymous. And I can understand that. I respect people's privacies. So let me know what you think about that format. Please leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned because that conversation is happening right now. All right, so it's XRP The Stanard Productions in studio. How are you today, young man?
Jerry, I'm doing well, thank you. And hello to everyone who wonders and who has wondered for a while who the hell I am and why I do what I do.
You know, I think that, one of the wonderful things about this show, whether it's somebody from Wall Street or somebody that's actually got a business in digital assets or a community member, the stories of who we are as people, I think that's probably the most incredible thing that I've gotten from this. So I'd like to hear from you how you found digital assets in the first place and what that experience and journey was like.
So I knew nothing about any of this, really. And I think my story is kind of similar to a lot of other people's stories. And that is, I found out about Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm almost embarrassed to say, but I knew absolutely nothing about it before 2017. And matter of fact, I can remember actually finding out about it it probably was around 2011, sometime around there. I heard a news story about Bitcoin. And I made a crack to my wife about what is this hipster bullshit? What the hell is this? I said, why does anyone need Bitcoin? And I had no idea about it, yet I freely made fun of it. And I specifically remember that. And so I obviously I didn't realize that it was some kind of a unique type of not only technology, but a currency that could appreciate in value. I knew nothing about that. So it was in 2017, like a lot of people, where I found out about this Bitcoin. There was, I believe a guy at work was talking about it, and I looked into it, and I said, holy shit, am I seeing this right? And I think one of the things that hit me was not only Bitcoin, but looking at Ethereum. And I said, wow, I remember looking at Coinbase and looking at the 1 year chart, I think it was. And the gains on it were, I had never seen anything like it. And again, I think that my story is not unique. I think a lot of people have a similar story. But I'm almost like rubbing my eyes and saying, is this possible? Are these real gains? Like I could have bought this a year ago, and today it would have been this price. And the more I looked into it, sure enough, yeah, that's the case. So that's what got me into it at first. And again, it's a little bit embarrassing, but it was that price gain that snapped me to attention. So then when you see something like that, and I'm sure that you might have a similar story, you start to think a few different things. You think, okay, this happened. So number one, did I miss the boat? Number two, can I still get in? And is this still actually cheap? Because, you know, you can go back and you can see the chart and you can see that it's had several different spikes in price over the years. And number three, you think, well, could there be something else that is early right now in this space that maybe I could invest in and might realize these kind of gains one day? So that's what got me at least starting the search for XRP, or what ended up becoming my XRP is what I found. And well, first, before I talk too much, I would ask, is that somewhat similar to what you went through?
Well, I'll tell you, it's interesting for me. So this had to be the very end of 2011, beginning of 2012. And I was at a poker table at my local casino where I was a regular poker player. And the guy next to me is a dude that I'd played on tables with, you know, he was no stranger. He goes broke and he says, "Hey, Jerry, can I talk to you?" Now, it's not uncommon for card players that know each other to lend and borrow money. That's not a uncommon thing. So I know he's going to ask me for money because he just went broke. But I see him often enough that I believe he's probably good for it. But he tells me, "Can you give me 500 to get back in this game? And I'll give you right now 500 Bitcoin." And I said, "What is Bitcoin?" And he did the best he can to explain it, which in hindsight was a horrible explanation, because had he explained it to me
right,
where I understood the value proposition, I'm sure I would have had no problem lending them giving them the $500. I didn't do it. Time goes on. And it wasn't until after I was already reaping the rewards of some heavy cannabis stock purchases that were just paying off like a slot machine at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, that I discovered Bitcoin and Ethereum at my hotel in Costa Rica, where I was staying, and the bartender had told me about it. So when I got home, I started looking into it. And because I knew things are cyclical, and I had just seen this digital asset space explode, because, you know, I started researching it in late January. And I thought to myself, it'll come back. It'll come back. And so I got in February 2018, started dollar cost averaging my way in, liquidating my equity positions, and here we are today. So very similar. I mean, it was like the more you learn, the more, like, the deeper in the rabbit hole you get, the more convinced you are, because there's so many justifications. You look at every tech movement, right? Horses to cars, telegraph to telephone. How about telephone to wireless telephone, i.e. radio, and then it migrated into cellular? How about personal PCs to internet in every home? And, you know, just it doesn't, Ray Charles could see we're at the beginning of another one of these innovative swings where old stuff will get disrupted, it'll be replaced by new stuff, and it's the folks that get in with the new stuff are the ones that make all the money, not the people that buy at the top. It's the people who get in the beginning. Well,
I agree, and looking at Bitcoin in particular, you know, almost everyone finds out about Bitcoin first, right? And Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. But I remember starting to soak up videos and articles and looking up all that I can find on Bitcoin. Well, it doesn't take long before you realize that there's actual shortcodes. Because I can remember early on thinking that, okay, Bitcoin is like instant electronic money, that you don't have to really worry about the problem of the double spend, or you don't have to worry about a central counterparty or anything like that. So that's the kind of the blockchain technology is what makes it great. but to be able to instantly transfer it anywhere, that's like groundbreaking, and it's trustless and so on. But then you find out, right, that there's problems. There's scaling issues. There's electricity consumption. It seems to be all consolidating in places like China, where they can get cheap energy and so on. But you find out all these problems that you don't know at first, and you don't know it by watching these basic documentaries about I forget what the famous ones are about Bitcoin, but I watched them. And so once you find that out, I think it was very shortly after that I found out its shortcomings, and then I stumbled upon XRP, and I stumbled upon the writings of Hodor. And I think that was actually one of the big ones, because I had blogs that I could read that were pretty in depth, that explained things very well, that got me to realize what exactly was so special about XRP. And then I started finding out about Ripple, and about the people who were involved in Ripple, and the things that they were pushing for in terms of XRP's adoption. And so then I got started on XRP chat. I don't know if you've been on XRP chat.
A long time ago.
Yeah, and that seems to be like the natural progression. Like, people start on XRP chat, and they start, communicating and learning, and they hang out there, and then normally it moves somewhere else. But that's what happened to me. And I started under a different avatar. I wasn't XRP The Stanard Productions. I didn't even consider that until later. But if you're talking about kind of how I eventually got to where I am right now, on XRP chat, obviously we were talking a lot about XRP, and then that bull run hit in late 2017 and early 2018. And it was, I'm telling you, it was, because I got in months and months before then, and so we were talking about XRP and all the use cases, and the first swell was coming up, and we were all excited, and why the F is all this excellent news not moving the price, and what's going on here? I mean, everything that we bitch about today, we were bitching about that back then, right? But yet we were still like, look, we gotta go with the fundamentals, and this is really what makes the most sense. So when in December 2017, when it started rolling up like that, a lot of us were thinking like, okay, this is it, finally we have some vindication, we we hit it, and we hit it just right, so let's celebrate. And then subsequently we had this huge crash, right? So and did you say you got in after that happened?
Yeah, my first purchase was February 1st, 2018, and the dollar amount, it was $1.05. I will never forget. I bought, and I saw it coming down, right? I mean, I can read a chart pretty much, sort of. And I could see, okay, it's coming down. And I just wrote that whole thing off as that was just the blow off top, was the exuberance. But I honestly believed that where Ripple had said they were going, and bringing XRP with it, to me seemed like an absolute no-brainer. They're not trying to replace a currency, they're just trying to bridge one. They're not trying to take over anything, they're just trying to make what's already there better. That to me seemed like, it just seemed like a no-brainer. So I was happy as each subsequent day to that first purchase that the price kept going down. Because to me, I was getting it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Right, because nothing about the fundamentals or nothing about the long-term plans had changed, right? Nothing.
They got better.
Exactly. It just continues to get better in terms of the prospects of XRP and Ripple and so on. And that's why it was so perplexing. But when it was going up, you're almost, and I'm no whale, but when the price is going up, a lot of us are looking at these gains and thinking, is this real? And is it going to continue up to $10, $20, $30? I mean, what exactly is going on here? So when it dips down, you're also kind of outside of yourself, and you're saying, is this real? Like, what exactly is going on here? So then it continues to crash through a significant portion of early 2018, right? And you're the whole time you're wondering any second it's going to be jumping up, because remember, that was around the time where they were talking about the MoneyGram deal with Ripple, and there seemed to be all this good news that was continuing to come out, right? And so you think that, okay, well, at any moment it could go back to the bull run of late 2017, right? At any moment.
So you're talking about like in that October 2018 period.
No, I think it was actually correct me if I'm wrong, but it was actually like February or so where they announced the MoneyGram partnership. So this wasn't the latest one where Ripple was actually purchasing a portion of MoneyGram. This was kind of the initial MoneyGram deal, right? So I'm pretty sure that it was February or March of 2018. And so all this great stuff is coming. Matter of fact, I remember tweeting. I either tweeted or put on XRP chat. I forget if I was on Twitter at that time, but I remember saying something about this doesn't make sense. You know, this is one of the hugest announcements where a blockchain payments company like Ripple, who uses a digital asset XRP in a real world application like that, or plans to with this world money mover, MoneyGram, and yet it doesn't do anything to the price. You know, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So then you realize like something's going on, right? There's something that we don't understand that's going on. And either people are stupid and they're just not quite seeing the implications of this, or there's some kind of manipulation, or maybe a little bit of both. But you still hold strong to the fundamentals of XRP and of Ripple as a company, and them pushing the use case for XRP. So I'm still in it for the long game, is my point at that stage. So then I figure, okay, I'm still in it for the long game. I'm still totally fascinated by all this. It's probably my main hobby is reading information about it, right, and watching videos and so on. And so I think, well, if I'm in it for the long haul, and if we are going to buckle down, and if it is going to be years, it might be kind of cool to do something creative around XRP. Because to me, Jerry, and I don't know if you think the same way I do, but the storylines around XRP and around kind of this time in history and blockchain technology and the digitization of assets, it makes for some really interesting creative thought. You know, I think we're in the middle of the early days of something that's going to transform the world. And so you think of, like, at least my mind anyway, thinks of like some interesting short stories and some interesting kind of thoughts and ideas and possible videos and so on. So what I thought was, I'm still on XRP chat, so I thought, you know what, to kind of keep the community engaged and to have fun, I'm going to do like a little XRP short story. And what I wrote was a short story that I posted on XRP chat called Progress. And the story was about an old guy who's in a diner, and the waitress and the busboy are in the back and they're whispering about him. And they're obviously, you find out through their whispers that he's rich and he's in their town to build something called a heal zone, which is apparently some sort of hospital, but the reader doesn't quite understand what's going on. And apparently he's some sort of famous rich person. So, but in the story, you eventually find out that we are not in a diner in our time. We're in a diner maybe 30, 40 years from now. And slowly, little by little, you find out in the story that we're in a kind of a futuristic place, because there's technologies that they're dealing with, like it's just everyday stuff that would blow us away right now. And then as the story progresses, you find out that he capitalized on something early on in his life that transformed the world. And it ends up being XRP, right? But anyway, I thought that was a really cool way to kind of make a creative story around XRP and what's going on right now, early days, even though a lot of people can't see it. So then I thought, okay, well,
let me chime in for a second, because having you bring up Progress and the fact that it started as a written word short story on XRP chat, I will tell you that it was my first exposure to you, but in the the iteration of it in the form of an animated video.
Right.
And that was my
Right.
first exposure to you. And so I love hearing stories about how something that has touched me or affected me, how it began, the genesis of it. And so, and I didn't even have to ask you, you just rolled it out. So thank you for that.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. And I think you're one of like 5 people who actually watched it. So I, so I appreciate that. But I thought that this whole thing is really ripe for creative pieces like that. So not only did I write it, but I also went ahead and started a short story contest, and I put up like 2,000 XRP or something for the winners of this. So a lot of people who and I'm going to say this real quick. A lot of people who think I'm nothing but a FUD master, or with what I'm doing right now, you guys have no idea. I've been in this community for a long time, and I put up a lot of XRP to promote XRP and keep people's spirits up and so on. It's not like I'm Mr. Big Shot. I'm not. I'm just saying that I'm 100% behind XRP. I love its implications, and I have for quite some time. So I started a short story contest, and a lot of people on XRP chat at the time submitted stories. I had 60 some stories that were submitted. A lot of them were really good. They were great stories. I know that Nordic Ann, I haven't seen her on Twitter in a while, but Nordic Ann put in a story. JC Collins, who does Philosophy of Metric, he put in a story. Zerpinator put in a story, who did the XRP drop videos. A lot of people put in stories, and I used to message with Hodor at the time on XRP chat, and I would send messages also to Joel Katz, to David Schwartz, and I would ask them to hey, you guys can put in a story. I think you guys would be great. So, and I said you could even put it in under a pseudonym. So I'm kind of wondering if they had submitted stories as well. But anyway, it was a whole bunch of stories, and it got the community kind of thinking about possibilities, and they put in all these, you know, different types of stories, thinking about the future of XRP, or creative ways to kind of think about where we're headed or what it could be used for, or so on. And I just thought that was really cool. And so we did that. And then I decided, you know what, I want to keep doing creative things. I'm in this for the long haul. I'm having fun. I want to keep making creative stuff. And so that's when I came out with XRP The Stanard Productions, and I went ahead and made my Twitter account, and I wanted to make creative things around XRP that were informative, captured people's imaginations, and were unique to anything else that was being done. Like everyone and anyone makes XRP videos, and I will not criticize anyone for making an XRP video. I think everyone should go ahead and feel free to make one, you know, because we all have our own stories, and I want XRP out there like crazy, you know. But I thought if I could be doing these creative things and producing actual pieces that capture people's imaginations, this is going to be something that no one else is offering. So that's where I got started with that.
I love it. I'll tell you, it was for me, like, I've always had a voice, and one of my characteristics is I've always been a learner, right? I like learning things. And one of the mechanisms that kind of helps solidify my learning is to teach it or communicate it. Kind of locks in my learning. If I keep everything in my brain, you know, that's a dangerous place to be. But as I'm learning things, right, if I'm sharing them with others, it kind of locks it in. And so I had a desire to get involved. I thought video would be a great medium for me, but technically I'm challenged, monetarily challenged. And Jungle Inc. put out a thing on Twitter, said, anybody want to get on a video with me tonight and talk about XRP? And this had to be January of 2019. And so I did. That turned into an hour-long conversation that segued to the very next week. We had exchanged numbers afterwards. The very next week, he messaged me, hey, you want to get on and do it again? I said, of course. again, I wanted to do a channel. There was things I wanted to do. Technically, from a technology standpoint, I did not know how to do it. I couldn't get OBS to work. I mean, I was having all kinds of issues.
Right.
So I just didn't. And it wasn't until I did another one of these things where it was somebody called in, or Jeff from On the Chain. He said, is there anybody in the community that like to come on the show, this thing we're doing called the Roundtable? And I said, sure. And on Twitter, I said, I'd like to do that. And so we did it, we wrapped it, and they said, hey, you're kind of a natural. And I said, I've always wanted to do this for the last year or so, but I don't know how. And they got on phone calls and Zoom calls with me and showed me technically how to make a video from, this is how you set up your recording. This is how you save it when you're done. This is how you use an editing software. Here's a great one to use. Here, we'll walk you through all the buttons, and this is how you make a thumbnail, and all that stuff.
Right.
And then I was off to the races, and here we are today. So
that's one of the cool things about the community that I've noticed. That, I mean, it's a pretty big community, so there's a lot of jerks too, but there's a lot of people who are really helpful, and just good people and encouraging, and so that doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm kind of the same way. Like I didn't know how to edit a lot of this stuff, and I don't have endless amounts of money where I can just hire people and just produce it totally. But I decided to go ahead and start making different videos. So I got permission from Hodor to make like a half an hour long video of his introduction to XRP, because I thought that is such a great blog from him. I don't know if you remember that. But
I remember it very well.
Yeah, it's a great blog, and I thought this is going to be around helping people for years, really. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a video version of that? So I thought, okay, well, let's put something together that uses a professional voice actor, which isn't too hard to hire. There's lots of different places where you can hire them, and let's make a video version of this Hodor blog. So I went ahead and did that, and then I started to make other kind of fun and funny and creative things. And I didn't know how to do any of that. I just had to figure it out as I went, because it was kind of a hobby, just like this is a hobby for you right now. And so I went ahead and did that. So the only problem with that is, I was getting nothing in return. And I'm not saying I had to get something in return, but in order for it to make it worth it to me, I couldn't continue to spend all the time and effort and money to make these things, and to have them. I don't think the community even quite knew what to make of them. Like there was some people who really were very kind, and they said, gosh, these things are just amazing. They're really great. They're really profound. No one else is making stuff like this. This is great. But the only problem is, I would maybe get, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 views out of one of these that would take me a damn month or 2 or 3 or 4 to make. And that's just, I couldn't justify it, and whereas someone else who's making just a regular YouTube video where they go on and mind you, I'm not criticizing anyone. I want everyone to make their own YouTube videos, and I think it's just great. But they go on and talk about XRP and the daily news and everything, and they get like 30,000 views or what, whatever. And I'm just thinking, man, I just can't afford to keep making these, But I didn't want to leave the community. This is so fascinating and so fun for me, and I love doing creative things around XRP. So a little bit later on that year in 2019, I just decided to take out my frustrations on a little Coil blog. And that was the start of the modern iteration of XRP The Stanard Productions.
No, I love it. I mean, I'll tell you, between the humor, the humor that's in the written word is matched by the clever wit illustrated by the visual representation of the headers that you make. For
That
instance,
yes.
if I
Go
could,
ahead.
some of my favorites, Ripple hiring Skeletor was an
Right.
incredible visual. You know what I mean? It doesn't, you don't, it's witty, it's clever. And I totally get the video stuff because your productions were very well, you had very well made productions. The 7 or
Well,
8
I
videos.
appreciate that, and let me say, if I had to have someone watch one of those productions, I mean, I really like the story. I think the story progress is really wistful and kind of inspiring, and I really liked that. You know, it came from my heart. But if they watch the dustpan, it's something called the dustpan. If they were to watch that, I spent a year making that. So
Oh,
I spent a year and it got like 2,000 views or something. I don't know what it was, something ridiculous. And it's just like, and it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a lot of stuff happens like that, but it's like I thought I was putting out kind of a little masterpiece there, and what the message was and what it was saying and the underlying points of it, I thought were pretty profound and interesting. And it just didn't work out, and that's fine. But I would say if anyone's listening to this, go watch the Dustpan. Took me a damn year to make. I really think it's quality.
well, you know, the history of that, I didn't know that. And I will tell you, there are labors of love being committed by many people for many things. And so I want to let you know you're not alone. And
Oh, sure, yeah.
the truth, here's the truth, like it or not, this is the truth. The large percentage of the quantity or volume of our community is made up of people who are seeking to get their own bias confirmed. Is
Very well said.
relevant or
Yeah.
right or wrong as that bias is, they're seeking bias confirmation. Okay, that's fine. I don't, I started off my channel April 1st of this year trying to do that. Hey, this is the news that I'm seeing. This is my thought on it. And the truth of the matter is that wasn't exactly where my heart was. But because I seen it be a successful formula, I gave it a shot. Until I finally realized, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to people. Because I like to converse. I'm going to have interactions with people, and hopefully the context will be that together through an exchange of information, thoughts, and feelings, that we can slowly improve ourselves as people, but also as investors. And what that's done for me is forced me to become a better investor, to understand markets better, to understand these technologies better. And through my guests, I get to deliver that message. Now, do I have 30,000 subscribers? No, and I probably never will. However, the subscriber base has been growing, and they've been so generous with their comments, their criticisms, their commendations, and I have a diverse library of stuff. So we're on a one-on-one. This is you and me having a conversation. I also do a Beyond Moon series where I'm trying to bring like real financial information, but through the lens through the vehicle of cryptocurrencies. I have a live stream show I do, and every once in a while I will do a news thing where something I feel is worthy. I'll bring it up, talk about it, say where I think it's going to go. But those are rare. Mainly my Beyond Moon and my interviews are the things that I do the most of. And I might, some videos get a couple thousand views, some get a couple hundred. You know what? I don't care.
Oh, I totally agree. Like, and you got to do what feels right and what you're interested in, and just sort of let it go with the flow. But if those were to cost you a lot of money and time, to do that unless you just unless it just made you so happy and it was your main hobby or whatever. You wouldn't be able to justify keep doing it. And
Oh,
that's the
exactly.
situation. That's a situation I found myself in. Like I probably would still be doing it today if it weren't for just I couldn't justify it. So by staying in the community and staying involved in everything, still having a Twitter account, that's when I decided to take out my frustrations one day. And I've always been a fan of like the Onion, the Onion, the Babylon Bee, satire sites like that. I love satire. I think it has a particular way of pointing out things, of not only entertaining but shining a light on certain things in a certain way that's just totally unique. And in a lot of cases very witty and relevant and poignant and so on. So what I thought was one of the things that was very frustrating at that moment in time was reading another article about the lack of regulations, right? We've all been waiting for proper regulations, and that's one of the things that we've all said is holding back XRP. And I got so pissed one day, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a satirical article. And it ended up being a satirical news article about the fact that Congress has put forward a 50-year fast-track plan for crypto regulations. and I thought, okay, I'm going to write this out of kind of frustration and just to let a little bit of creativeness come out and I thought that maybe people would give it a little laugh, that maybe 10 people would like it and some people would comment and say, yeah, that's pretty funny. But then I put it out there and it exploded. So it got 60,000 plus impressions, like 100 plus comments. Some people were going nuts and talking about how much they hated Congress, and some people were laughing because they got it, and some people were totally confused, and some people called it FUD. It was the whole gamut, right? But I thought the one thing I did think was, wow, this is this is first of all really interesting that I get this kind of reaction. Second of all, it gave me an outlet to not only express a frustration, but also to be creative and to make a point. If you see most of my pieces, not all of them, because some of them are just total silliness meant to make people laugh, but some of them, they convey a message. And sometimes I want to knock people on the head who are making comments and say, guys, open your eyes. I'm giving a message. I'm trying to make a little bit of a statement here. And I think a lot of people miss that boat. But you're going to, with any satire, you're going to miss that. You're going to have a lot of people who totally miss that side of it. Some people just don't have what it takes to see that, and so they'll call it FUD, or they'll just say it's stupid or whatever. But that's the path that I went down, was trying to not only to make the community laugh, but also sort of shine a particular light on certain things. Like I've just off the top of my head, like the article about the man suing Ripple for not making him a billionaire. So
right.
You see an article like that, which I wrote quite a while ago, but man sues Ripple for not making him a billionaire. And then you read the article and you find out that he invested $30 and Ripple hadn't made him a billionaire, or XRP hadn't made him a billionaire within the last month or so. And so he's suing Ripple for $1 million. And and so obviously you read the article and it's total nonsense and it's obvious satire, but the point of the article sort of shines a light on the ridiculousness of some of the lawsuits that are going on right now. I mean, what is the guy the main lawsuit who's suing Ripple and calling it a security or saying they're selling unregistered securities or whatever? How much did he invest? Like a couple $100?
Yeah.
Something like that. And he didn't even buy it from Ripple. So he bought a couple $100 worth of XRP. He didn't even buy it from Ripple. It didn't go to zero. It just dropped in price. And he's suing them. Obviously, something else is going on here. Someone's trying to either throw mud at Ripple, or they're trying to, lawyers are trying to get some money out of them or something. Something's going on. So there's all kinds of stuff, Jerry, in this space. There's all kinds of shit like that. There's just ridiculous frauds. There's all these coins that are popping up out of nowhere that don't seem to have any real world use case, or are just white papers. There's things called sushi coin or sushi swap or whatever, who the guy makes $1 million or millions of dollars and bails. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's going on. There's interplays with the real world financial system and governments that cause frustration. There is so much that's so ripe for satire. And so I feel like I'll almost never run out of material, you know, especially considering the silly pieces that I do.
You won't. And if you've really sunk in and found your quote unquote sweet spot, right, where your time, your energy, cost of production is within your comfort zone, well, then right on. I mean, I will tell you that I really enjoyed your videos, but I understand that, you know, some things are not sustainable. You know what I mean?
For sure, and for sure, and also I'm still having a blast. I don't know how long I'll do this, but I'm still having a blast with making these. And to put these out, at first you don't really know like what percentage of people are getting a good laugh, what percentage of people are just hating me, what percentage, and I don't really care all that much, but it's nice to know if there's a good portion of people who get it. And then when there's certain things that happen, like if David Schwartz comments on, which has happened, you know, maybe a dozen times now, if he comments on one of my pieces or says either some sort of joke that makes me realize that he gets it, or just flat out says, hey, this is hilarious, which he's done as well. I mean, that is really cool, and that at least justifies these for me. Like, okay, they get it. If you're gonna play to a room, unless you're Andy Kaufman, if you're gonna play to a room in which everyone is looking at you and hates you, you're not you're not really gonna last too long, because you just think, well, I got to find a different room, you know, someone who gets it. But for David Schwartz, for a lot of people who I respect in the community, not everyone, because some people just that I really like in the community, I think hate me. You know, I think really don't like what I'm doing, even though I still really like them, you know. But for certain members in the community to comment that, wow, this is really funny, it makes a really good point or whatever, it makes it worth it. It's very encouraging and really fulfilling. And then on top of that, to get followed by people from Ripple, like to be followed by Brad Garlinghouse, what just happened, last week, that just blows me away, you know? Like, so Brad Garlinghouse, who follows like 400 or 500 people, he chooses to follow XRP The Stanard Productions. So he must get it, you know? Like he must have noticed, wow, these guys are actually kind of clever. I say these guys all the time because it makes me sound better, but it's me. Just me. Aside, you know, I'll say, because a lot of times I'll pretend like we're a real, you know, news organization. It's fun to do that, you know, to pretend like we're a real news organization.
I love it.
And oh yeah, and we have an editor in chief, and we have our lead investigative reporter, and all of this. No, it's just me coming up with crazy shit. Now there's people in the community who do offer support, like there's a guy Focus XRP who's at Focus XRP who's from France, I think, and he's actually contributed some actual good photoshops, because I'm horrible at Photoshop, but it works for what I'm doing. You know, it's just the silliness of the horrible Photoshop to go along with my story makes it, to me, kind of even funnier. But he's put forward some photoshops for me. Some other people in the community have suggested ideas, some of which I've taken, some of which I've sort of modified a little bit and used. There's people like Mr. B, digital asset investor, who have actually contributed ideas that I've used. And but for the most part, it's just me, even though I say us. But for people like Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Alderati followed me, of course David Schwartz, There was another legal counsel with Ripple who followed me. It really is exciting, and it makes me keep wanting to go on.
You know, at the end of the day, we're all just people, right? Regardless of,
Yeah.
regardless of how rich you're going to be at $10 in XRP, at the end of the day, we're all just people. You know, I'll tell you, there have been a few pieces you've done that have actually made me laugh out loud.
Do tell.
Well, I'll tell you one. Okay, the Peter Schiff article you did, where in the headline it's Peter Schiff built this, golden idol, and he says you can't do that with Bitcoin. He built this idol out of gold. You can't do that with Bitcoin.
Right.
That was hilarious. The CZ Finance buying Malta, buying the country Malta, so that he could get his regulations passed.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. I mean, God, here's the thing. You have gotten to the point where you have so much content on Coil that if somebody just found you today, it would take them a month to get through your stuff.
Yes. Right.
Well, that to me speaks volumes of who you are. And so you're consistent. Obviously, you're funny. I wouldn't want to go out for drinks with you and have you decide to use me as the subject matter of your satire, because I'm sure it would be far too witty. The thing is that you're having fun. You're a member of the community. You are a member of the community. You're not on the outside like a vampire sucking the life out of the community or taking oxygen out of the room. You're contributing something. And many of us are doing the same thing in our own way. These are your words that you used just a little bit ago. I want to commend you for that. And I'm just delighted that you were able to, that we together collaboratively were able to figure out a way so that you felt comfortable remaining anonymous, yet give the community a peek behind the Coil blog, a peek behind the YouTube channel, a peek behind the limited or the constraints of a Twitter account.
Right, and I hope that that people once again realize that everything that I do is just to entertain the community and to make them laugh and potentially see sort of an underlying point, and to keep them going and interested in this journey, And I again, I don't know how much longer I'll be doing it, but for you to say that if you go to my my Coil page and you scroll through and you see all of the material, I'm hoping that people will do that. Just go there and just scroll, and just maybe pull the bar down to the middle and just start scrolling, and you're gonna find something that's gonna make you laugh out loud, or that's gonna make a good point, or whatever. The two things that you brought up, the Peter Schiff and also the CZ Binance, they aren't ones that I would have just pulled out as examples, but I think that each one of my pieces makes a pretty frickin' funny point, or is at least gives you a belly laugh,
Well,
and
the most recent one that has tickled me to death is this whole equality in the workplace sentiment, Black Lives Matter, da 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 da.
Yes.
And the article you did about Ripple not having any Bitcoin maxis on the Darlinghouse.
Exactly.
Saying that's going to end today. We're going to go get a. Matter of fact, I think they're going to put in a call to Tone Vase.
Yeah, exactly. And if you noticed, I had Tone Vase and some other guy turning in their applications at Ripple in the middle of that article. It showed a picture of them because they realized that people of their demographic were being sought after now. So it's ridiculous. Not only is it's multi-leveled. It's ridiculous and funny, but at the same time, it makes a little bit of a point. And look, you can agree with hiring based on a demographic, or you cannot. But the point of the satire is you don't have to necessarily agree with it. You don't have to disagree with it. People will have all kinds of opinions, but at least they will recognize the funniness of a situation in which Ripple were to actually hire Bitcoin maximalists because they didn't have enough of that demographic and they wanted to go for equality.
That's incredible. Hey, I'm looking
Right.
at the clock. I'm looking at the clock here. We're going to wrap this up. Do you have any final thoughts? Just like something that maybe day to day wouldn't come out in your Twitter accounts, obviously, you know, wouldn't become one of your pieces. Just a final thought for the community.
I would just reiterate to the community that I guess kind of keep it all in perspective. And it's funny because another one of my pieces was a short story called Perspective, and you can watch that on YouTube as well. And it's another one where I thought it was a pretty good story, you know, and it has a really good message. But keep it all in perspective. Try to zoom out because we're in the middle of something that's not only world changing, but also a little bit kooky. It's a little bit crazy. It's a crazy space. There's all kinds of things that can throw you off of this track. I would say that I'm the first one to admit that I could be totally wrong about XRP, but I still hold fast to the idea that in the long term, utility and the fundamentals of something will ultimately be the things that causes the value to be realized. So if you can have a laugh and laugh off all this frustrating bullshit that we see and read and deal with, and focus on the task, focus on the fundamentals, and keep your eye on the prize, I really think that in the long run, we're making the right call on XRP.
Right on, right on. I like it. So thanks for joining me. And folks, those of you that have been watching this incredible montage of the XRP, the Stanard Productions, basically covers of his work, right? Hit him up on Coil. We'll put a link to that in the description of this video.
And that's another thing, Jerry.
Oh.
That's another thing I gotta say. If you're not subscribed to Coil, you're not doing your duty as an XRP holder. $5 a month, support the ecosystem, subscribe to Coil.
Right, and for you Coil subscribers, take as much time on his page as you like. Open up an article. Walk away from the computer, make dinner. Play with the kids, come back to the computer. It's only $5 a month. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning into One-on-One with Jerry Hall. And until next time, Pura Vida.